Part of the bombshell interview between President Trump and Bob Woodward that's not getting as much attention, the president's comments on privilege. A reminder, this interview is from the Washington Post. We do not have access to the full recordings.
Work our way out of it to understand the anger and the pain, particularly black people feel in this country.
No, you really drank the Kool-Aid, didn't you? Listen to you. Wow. No, I don't feel that at all.
I want to bring in Eddie Glaude, chairman of the Department of African American Studies at Princeton, also an MSNBC contributor, chairperson of the African American Studies Department. Eddie, no, I don't feel that at all. Your reaction?
Well, I mean, we know that Donald Trump lacks a certain kind of capacity for empathy. We know that his self-awareness kind of only exists within the bounds of a certain kind of narcissism. So it makes sense that he would say what he said. And so, but it's also, Craig, I think a sign of his confusion. And that's a generous read. He also said in the tapes that we've heard that he admitted that there is something like systemic racism. So if you admit there is something like systemic racism, then you have to understand how that evidences itself. One of the ways in which it evidences itself is the way in which whiteness is privileged in the distribution of advantage and disadvantage. He doesn't understand that because he doesn't have the capacity to understand it in some ways. That might be a generous read, or he just doesn't give a damn. That might be the more accurate read.
That part of the interview that you just referenced, I want to play that part for our viewers and our listeners on Sirius Satellite Radio, because I was surprised by that as well. Here's the exchange you referenced.
Do you think there is systematic or institutional racism in this country?
Well, I think there is everywhere. I think probably less here than most places, or less here than many places.
Okay, but is it here in a way that it has an impact on people's lives?
I think it is, and it's unfortunate, but I think it is.
I was actually a bit surprised, Professor Glaude, to hear the president acknowledge the existence of institutional racism. Were you surprised at all by that or no?
I was, actually. But then, you read that alongside the earlier comment about you really drinking the Kool-Aid, then you have to ask yourself the question, well, what does he think he means by the phrase systemic racism, right? When we hear the question asked to Attorney General Barr with regards to policing, he will deny that there is such a thing. So when Donald Trump concedes that there is institutional or structural or systemic racism in the country, I don't know what he actually means by that. Does he mean, is it evidenced in the education system? Is it evidenced in the wealth gap? Is it evidenced in real estate? Is it evidenced in healthcare delivery? What does he mean? I'm not sure, because when we begin to drill down, what we do know is this, what the evidence is clear about, is that he's constantly appealing to white grievance, white fear, white resentment. We see the memos from the Office of Management and Budget. We see what's happening in the Department of Education with Betsy DeVos. We understand very clearly that if he does believe that there is such a thing as systemic racism, his actions suggest that he doesn't care about it at all in terms of its effects.
I mean, here's the question. I've posed this question probably literally hundreds of times over the past 3.5 years, but there was, of course, the impeachment. That seems like a lifetime ago. This week alone, there's the Cohen book. There was the first Woodward book. Now there's this book that's, a bombshell. Does any of it matter, Eddie? Professor Glaude, by that I mean there is so much noise. Does this cut through? Will this actually make any sort of difference in how people view the president?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Craig, I think it feels like we're in As the World Turns or All My Children. It's a soap opera, and we're addicted to it. We know the plot. We know the evil characters. We know the twists. And this book, like the Cohen book, like Mike Schmidt's book, like Michael Wolff's book, we can go on, are just simply details to reveal the substance of a character that it seems to me that the country watches and relishes, even if they disagree. So I think it feels as if we might not be in a reality show, Craig, but it feels like a soap opera version of one. So to answer your question directly, I'm not sure it will change much. Look how the Woodward story has displaced in some ways the Bombshell Atlantic story. We're just in a vortex, just being whipped around. And in the meantime, Craig, just really quickly, wildfires, pandemic, economic devastation, and the like. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, it is. In fact, that's probably the most appropriate bumper sticker for 2020. It's just crazy, man. Professor Eddie Glaude, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.